Good morning, everybody. Here it is. Another wonderful blessing that the good Lord has blessed us with to be in His Word, get our dose of it, and to get our day kicked off in the right direction. This morning, I want to talk about a statement or a lesson that Paul is teaching Timothy when he wrote to him over in 2 Timothy chapter 2. He makes a couple of statements here that I think sometimes there's a disconnect when we compare the Bible to what we find predominantly out in the religious world. Notice what Paul says to Timothy. He says, 2 Timothy chapter 2, and in verse 19 we'll start. He says, "Nevertheless, the foundation of God stands, having this seal: the Lord knows those who are His, and let everyone who names the name of Christ depart from iniquity." It makes me scratch my head a lot of times when I see people that profess to be pastors and Christians and believers and all these other types of things. But yet there's not trying to hide it or anything, but they're just very much still like the world. Some of the things that they paste or post on social media is derogatory towards those that's been created in the image of God, that have no regard for their language. Even maybe they're trying to use foul language and things that trying to make a point, but that's still no excuse to do so. And maybe they don't go to Bible study, they don't go to worship, they don't do it, just going about their way, but yet they profess that they believe in God. Paul says that if I name the name of Christ, I need to depart from iniquity. It's not something I should do. It's not something he didn't say it's something I need to try to do. He didn't tell Timothy, this is what you need to try to do. Timothy, it'd be a good idea if you do this. He said, no. He says, let everyone who names the name of Christ depart from iniquity. And that's a very wide brush. Iniquity is simply disobeying God. If God says don't forsake the assembling, and if you're doing it, my friend, you're committing iniquity. He says don't drink. If you're drinking, you're committing iniquity. If you're fornicating, you're committing iniquity. I mean, just on and on we could go. All right? So, but we've got this mindset. It's like, well, as long as I confess Christ, well, I'm good. Romans 10, 9, and 10. Well, it's got to fit somehow with what... It's not it's not something that we should do or we should work to do. No, he said do it. There should be no iniquity in our lives. Now, that's not saying that we're perfect and we don't stumble and we don't sin. That's not what we're saying. All right? Paul even said he fought that battle as well. Things I should do, I don't do, and so forth. All right? But he said, look, if you're naming the name of Christ, iniquity should not be part of your daily life. All right, he goes on and says, verse 20, he says, "But in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and silver, but also of wood and clay, some for honor and some for dishonor." Watch this. "Therefore, if anyone cleanses himself from the latter," that would be the dishonor, "he will be a vessel for honor, sanctified and useful for the master, prepared for every good work." Now look at this. Oh, we're saved by grace. We're not saved by works. Has nothing to do whatsoever. Well, how in the world does one cleanse himself? It didn't say God's going to clean you. Not what it says. Paul did not tell Timothy, God's going to clean you of these things. No. He said, I need to clean my own house. God's not going to do it for me. Now, he'll help us. But we've got to have the broom and the dustpan in our own hands. And I think that's maybe a disconnect of the image or the understanding that so many of these people put forth out there. Is that, well, we're saved by grace through faith. Well, Paul also said in Romans 6 and verse 1, "Shall we continue to sin that grace may abound? God forbid." And here we have him telling Timothy that if I name the name of Christ, iniquity should not be a part of my daily routine. It should not be a part of who I am. No. I need to clean myself from dishonor and iniquity, and not until then will I be useful for the master. See, it's not a suggestion. It's a requirement. You know, what a powerful and what a very good lesson that Paul is teaching us, which is in direct contrast to what so much teaching is out there in the religious world. If I name the name of Christ, I am obligated, I have been set to a higher standard. Not this everybody gets a trophy mindset out there. Just do the best you can, just show up, just confess Romans 10:9 and 10. Hey buddy, you're in there. Not according to right here. Both are true. But this is also part of that process. If you name the name of Christ and yet there's still iniquity in your life, friend, let us take the words of Paul here and let us get our spiritual brooms and our spiritual dustpans and let us get to cleaning house so that we can be prepared and useful for the Master. There's your dose of God's Word today. I hope it'll do you some good. Hey, Lord willing, we'll get back together again next time and we'll get us another dose of God's Word. We'll see you then. Y'all have a great day.